Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel here. Today, we are doing a highly anticipated Connor Bedard NHL 23 simulation. We just found out that he was going to the Chicago Blackhawks. Well, it's not confirmed, but Chicago won the draft lottery, so it's more than likely they're going to take Connor Bedard. If they don't, that would be a massive shock, kind of like Shane Wright was last year. But anyways, this is probably a much more accepted first overall pick this year. Everybody's touting him as the next Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, and we're going to find out if that's true in this universe. So I'm going to simulate his entire career. Could be 20 years, could be 25 years, could be 10 years, could be however long. We're going to see how he grows and develops, how many Stanley Cups he wins, how much money he makes, if he wins any other individual awards, and all that stuff. So I'm going to show you the stats real quick, what he's going in with, and we're going to see he's at an 80 overall right now, medium franchise. So we're going to see what he looks like here in year number one. I'm going to skip to the draft lottery right now. Okay, so these are Connor's stats to start off. He's with the Regina Pats. Obviously, he, has incredible deking and a 90 offensive awareness already. His shots, obviously amazing, but he's lacking a little bit in that physicality. At 17 years of age, though, he will likely only grow even more. Maybe he'll grow in height as well, maybe make it 6 feet. We don't know, but all of that will help him in the future. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into it. Okay, boys, so we are here now at the NHL Entry Draft. This is my fourth time simulating through, I think. You guys aren't going to have to watch any of it, though, don't worry. But this time, I think we have it fairly accurate this time. Chicago, Columbus, I mean, those were both in the top three. Then LA is down here as well, so fairly accurate. It obviously can't be perfect. I tried my best to make it as accurate as I could. I had to trade for some picks and stuff to make it work, but this is what it looks like now, and that's just how it's going to be. But the most important thing is that Connor Bedard is going to go to the Chicago Blackhawks. So let's get to his first year in the NHL and see what he can do. Alright, he's still 5'10", medium franchise. The game gave him, what did they give him? They gave him wheels, magnetic, close quarters, shock and awe, make it snappy, and all alone. So a good set right there. He didn't grow at all, I don't think, in his year in Regina, but I'm sure he will grow with the team. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, year number one of Connor Bedard's career, and he is thrown right into the mix here on this absolutely poor Chicago Blackhawks team. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They've got no superstars other than Mr. Connor Bedard himself, so he's going to need to do a lot of the heavy lifting, paired with Taylor Radish here. Chicago, they also picked up Evgeny Dadonov, it looks like, maybe in free agency or something like that. Also Connor Brown they grabbed, and Josh Norris, so Sam Gagner as well here for a little bit of leadership. So, looking to do something, maybe get the kid to grow a little bit through leadership. On the blue line, Jake McCabe, Seth Jones, they picked up Eric Johnson and Nikita Zaitsev, so looking all right. And between the pipes, is it still Alex Nedeljkovic and Peter Mrazek indeed? So not going to look anything too crazy probably in year number one, but I guess we'll see. In year number one here at the Chicago Blackhawks, and Connor Bedard finished, I think, 5th last in the NHL. They placed 28th in the entire league, so not great numbers. They had 2.98 goals for, 3.22 goals against, and only 11% power play. That's going to maybe hurt Connor Bedard's stats. 81% penalty kill, not bad. All right, let's check out his individual stats. Okay, but Connor Bedard, on the other hand, here scored 67 points in 82 games played. He was a -19, but that's okay. Only 4 penalty minutes, 233 shots. But look at this, boys. His overall grew to an 89 overall. In 1 year, he grew 9 overall. So, I mean, the kid is looking to carry this team as best he can. Those are his stats right there. You can pause it if you would like, but an incredible year from Connor Bedard, and I'm gonna go check if he won the Calder Trophy. And despite scoring 67 points there in his first season, he actually does not win the Calder Memorial. That goes to Juraj Slavkovsky of the Montreal Canadiens, so I'm not sure how that happened. I'll look at Juraj's stats maybe, but that's crazy to me. Oh my god! The year 2 Chicago Blackhawks have picked up free agent Austin Matthews. What kind of a contract did they give this guy? A $12.58 million deal for 6 years. So it's going to be Matthews and Bedard for the future? I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, does it? I mean, Chicago's got a bit of a team here now. They got Bedard, Matthews, and Nyquist on that first line. They got Josh Norris with Dadonov there, Kurashev and Connor Brown. I mean, the team is not looking that bad. I don't know if they're a playoff team quite yet. The defense is lacking a bit. They got Seth Jones. It looks like everybody else might still be the same. And goalie-wise, still Nedeljkovic, but they got Scott Wedgwood there instead. So, okay, Chicago might make some noise here now with Austin Matthews and Connor Bedard on his right-hand side. I'm looking forward to it. Connor Bedard still 89 overall, medium franchise. Austin Matthews, exact franchise 94. So the two franchise players playing together. They can also split them up. They have that Draisaitl-McDavid effect. This is going to be a crazy simulation. I didn't think something like this was going to happen. Holy. All right, good news and bad news for Connor Bedard. Good news is he has a line mate like Austin Matthews, and that means that he has 53 assists in 82 games. He also has 18 goals for 71 points. Bad news, though, or kind of bad news, is he stayed as an 89 overall throughout the season, so no growth from him. Look at those individual stats there. That stick checking up at 95. The defensive awareness going up as well. Offensive awareness, 99 overall. Love to see it. And his shot power getting up there as well. His accuracy dropping off a little bit. I think that slap shot accuracy dropped. But everything else going up. He already has 5-star defense, 5-star pop skills, 5-star senses. So he's obviously an incredible offensive player for sure. But that defense coming along as well. What is going on? Okay, apparently the game thinks this is Connor Bedard's first year in the NHL, so he wins the Calder, I guess? I don't know. For some reason, the rookies are 1 year behind their actual rookie season, because I showed you his stats. He scored 67 points in the NHL last year. He grew from an 80 to an 89. But this is his first year in the NHL, I guess? That's so weird. Oh, wait, no. This is the 25 season. Okay, so he did win the Calder last year. Okay, that was bizarre to me. Okay, so he did win the Calder last year. It just hadn't shown up yet. It just hadn't given me the info yet. Okay, sorry about that, boys. He did win the Calder in year number 1. This is year number 2. This is 2024-25 and 2023-24. He won the Calder, so good for Connor Bedard. I don't know what I'm on, bro. I just thought that the awards showed up as soon as the season ended. I guess that's not the case. Let's see how the Chicago Blackhawks do in the playoffs, though. All right, so in the playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks, they try to make a run for the cup here. They sweep out the Jets in 4, and then they face the tough Avalanche, but they beat them in 7 before going to an absolute grueler in Seattle, and they eventually lose in 7 games to the Stanley Cup champions, the Seattle Kraken, who get a Stanley Cup in their, 4th year of existence? They beat out Pittsburgh, man. Sidney Crosby and the gang trying to get another one. They beat them out. Tough stuff there for Connor Bedard, but that's how it is, man. I'm sure he's happy that he made the Western Conference Finals at the very least. And in the playoffs, it was the Danton Heinen show here, getting the most points for the entire team. Connor Bedard was down here with 12 points in 18 games, not bad at all. -4 though. You'd like to see that turn around a little bit. But it's his first ever playoff run, so hopefully next year they make a little bit more of a deeper run, and that's Connor Bedard's last year on his ELC, so I wonder what the Blackhawks are going to sign him to. I think we'll find out here pretty shortly, though. Alright, so Connor Bedard's 3rd year here in the NHL, and it looks like a very similar team to last year. They have Nyquist, Matthews, and Bedard here on that first line, so these guys staying together. This is Connor Bedard's final year of his ELC, though, his 3rd year coming into the league. They have Taylor Radish, Josh Norris, and Philip Kurashev. So I think this is a playoff-bound team yet again. I don't know if it's good enough to win a Stanley Cup or anything. Their defense is still lacking quite a bit, but what are you going to do? Seth Jones going to have to clamp down for the boys. And goalie still Nedeljkovic, who grew to an 86 overall for them, and Dan Vladar, another 82 there, instead of Scott Wedgwood this year. So interested to see what they do. I don't know how Connor Bedard will perform, but I'm sure, they'll be a playoff team at the very least. All right, at the end of Connor Bedard's third year here, the Chicago Blackhawks go 44, 33, and 5, and it is good enough to make the playoffs. They clinch a playoff spot there, scoring 3.09 goals for per game and 2.95 goals against. Individually, Connor Bedard steps up a little bit for his team in the goal scoring department, scoring 32 goals in 81 games, 46 assists for 78 points. He was a minus 11 though, so something that maybe they want to watch. Maybe him and Matthews, they should split them up instead of throwing them out there together, but either way, they made the playoffs, so I don't think they're complaining. Okay, in the playoffs this year, a bit of a disappointment for the Western Conference finalists last year. They lost in the Western Conference Finals, but they made it there. This year, they lose in 7. A grueler to the Stanley Cup, the eventual Stanley Cup champions, the Avalanche. They played them the toughest, though. The Avs beat the Nashville in 6, they beat Edmonton in 6, and they beat Detroit in 5. So technically, Chicago gave the Avs the biggest fight that they faced, but unfortunately, coming up in that tough Central Division, it's tough to get out of it, and the Avs end up beating out the Blackhawks. In 7 games, though, Connor Bedard showed why he was picked first overall by the Blackhawks 3 years ago. He increased his overall to a 91 as well. He scored 8 points with 4 goals and 4 assists in 7 games. Matthews point per game as well, and then everybody else kind of just fell off, as has been the case with this Blackhawks team. They are going to need to find some depth scoring, some secondary third guys here to help out Connor Bedard and Auston Matthews, because right now it's the Matthews Bedard show. So they're going to try to look to change that this offseason. And also, what kind of a contract is Connor Bedard going to get? We're going to find out here pretty shortly. All right, and after Connor Bedard's ELC, he has seen enough from this team to decide to sign for 7 years at $8.485 million. I say that's a bit of a steal there for a franchise player, to be honest. They also have Matthews signed up, as we know, for another 4 years at $12.58 million. So these two are locked in Chicago for quite some time. Connor Brown here has grown to an 87 overall after a few years being groomed by Chicago. Josh Norris at an 85 and Philip Kurashev here at an 83 on that second line. So that's a pretty decent second line. That third line looking good as well. And Connor Zary here, must have traded for him. Medium top 6, 25 years old. Probably won't grow too much more. And that's what this forward core is looking like. On defense here, again, it's just getting worse. The defense is just getting worse. Medium elite Kevin Korchinski, drafted 7th in 2022, so playing with Seth Jones. Hopefully he can grow a little bit more. Gavrikov, Boudin, Carson Soucy, and Cale Clegg. I mean, this defense, of course, is not looking great. And goalies Nedeljkovic with the Smith. So they're kind of just staying stagnant right now. They have signed Bedard, which is a big plus for them. Let's see if it's enough to get them in the playoffs and maybe make it past the first round this year. And in year number 4, the Chicago Blackhawks and Connor Bedard falter, and for the second time in his career, he misses the playoffs here. Chicago finishes 23rd in the NHL with a record of 37, 36, and 9. To be honest, it was almost good enough to make the playoffs. They were only a couple points off, but hey man, that's the way it happens, bro. You need to boost up your defense, dude. The simulation likes good defenders, it likes good forwards as well. And Chicago, they just don't have the full package. Well, Connor Bedard, on the other hand here, trying his best to carry his team to victory. He gets a career high in assists and points with 86 points in 81 games, 29 goals, just misses out on 30 goal season, and 57 assists as well, plus 14 there with Auston Matthews and Philip Kurashev, I believe. Or no, it was Reddish, wasn't it? I don't remember, man. Those are his stats for his 4th year and his first year on his extended contract here at $8.485 million, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so at the start of year number 5, we have Matthews, Bedard, and Ristolainen there on that first line. And on the second line, Zachary Benson, who Chicago drafted in year number 1 at number 10 as well, along with Taylor Radish and Philip Kurashev. Then they have Lawson Krause, Lucas Reichel, and Josh Norris. So Looking like a decent team. They're trying to grow Zach Benson as well. He's listed as a third liner. They're playing him up on that second pairing. And then look at this on defense here. So Korchinski did not grow last year. They're hoping to get some growth out of him. But this man, he's a medium elite. He was drafted first overall in year number 2, I guess that is. And then they have Seth Jones here, the aging Seth Jones on that horrible $9.5 million contract for another 3 years. Then they have Beaudin, Kale Clegg, and Libor Hayek. So a young team trying to grow still with a few older guys. Nedeljkovic still in the net with Casey DeSmith at 76 overall. Oh my God, getting paid $1.35 million. So I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year. Let's find out. Going into that season there, year number 5, I did not have incredible hopes for the Chicago Blackhawks, but they absolutely destroyed my belief. And because they finished 3rd in the NHL with 49 wins, 26 losses, and 7 overtime losses here. I mean, that's just a great record. They were close to winning that Presidents, but that goes to Vegas. Yeah, just an amazing season by the Blackhawks. And although the season for the Blackhawks is amazing, the season for Connor Bedard is a little bit lackluster here, posting, let me see, a career low? Yeah, a career low in points, but he also played less games. He was also -4, only 14 goals on the year too as a sniper. It's not what you want out of your $8.485 million extension there for your first overall pick. But Matthews got it done. Zach Benson with 60 points. I mean, so Connor Bedard getting a little bit of help this year for the first time pretty much since he started. I mean, other than Matthews, obviously. And yeah, so not a great year for him, but maybe he can turn around the playoffs. And in year number 5 for Connor Bedard, the Chicago Blackhawks go long. They have to face their demons to do it. They beat the Avalanche, who beat them 2 years consecutively when they made the playoffs. And they beat the Ducks in a sweep. They beat the Avs in 7. They beat the Kings in 7. And then they beat the Washington Capitals, who was the second-ranked team in the league in the regular season, in 6 games. So an absolute crazy playoff run for the Blackhawks. Let's look at those individual stats. And in the playoffs, Connor Bedard bounces back from a somewhat lackluster regular season, posting 25 points in 23 games. Over point per game player, he's a +2. And he's really shown himself to be an assist man in this universe. I thought he was going to be the 40-goal scorer in the regular season, but I don't know if he'll ever reach that because he's playing alongside of Austin Matthews. But a great postseason for Connor Bedard, and that's an amazing accomplishment to hold in your, I don't know, your trophy case in your mansion. I don't know. Oh, and they picked up Alexander Ovechkin. Oh no, this is the entire league. I see, this is the entire league. My bad. I thought I was looking at just the Blackhawks. No, this is the entire league. Connor Bedard, 2nd in the entire league in scoring. Don't know if you win the Conn Smythe. That'll probably go to Austin Matthews. But let's get to year number 6 here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in the start of year number 6 in these Chicago Blackhawks, they're looking even better than last year, in my opinion here. Although Connor Bedard, because of his 58 points last year in 72 games, he actually drops to a 91 overall. Though he has that high franchise and he's only 23 years of age, I'm sure he'll get back up there for sure. This offensive core looking great. Zach Benson grew to an 85. Taylor Radish maintained his 87. Lawson Krause up to an 85. Josh Norris is an 85 now. I mean, the team is looking great. And on defense here, Korchinski's still stuck at an 83 overall. As an offensive defenseman, I mean, what is he doing for the team? He's scoring 30 points. I mean, he was a +25 last year. Surely you'd think that was enough to grow him, but no. This two-way defender, though, grew to an 85. And then the rest of the defense does not look great, though they had this defensive core last year, and they won a cup. So what do I know? I don't know anything about it. Goalies, though, they have Nedeljkovic and then Alexander Varlamov, who's a medium fringe starter. They have a good forward core. The defense needs some work, but it's the same defense that just won them a cup, so maybe onwards and upwards again. And after an incredible year number 5 to Connor Bedard's career, year number 6 for the Blackhawks at least was a little bit worse. I mean, they only had 39 wins on the season, but they had 13 overtime losses there. So, they get a lot of points. They finished 12th in the league. Look at these. The Los Angeles Kings got screwed out of a playoff spot, man. That Western Conference is beefing up. 39, 30, and 13. Not a great record. They lost more games than they won, but maybe those individual stats make up for it. And look at this. Connor Bedard is back to his scoring ways right now, man. He scored 82 points in 81 games, so he was above point per game, though he was a -8, which is a little bit rough. 32 goals for the third time in his career, I think, breaking the 30-goal mark. No, the second time in his career breaking that 30-goal mark. Yeah, you're number 4. He was 1 goal away from 30. And 82 points. Sets a pretty good precedent here. He's almost point per game in his entire career, but he's -23 in his entire career. So that's interesting. Does not grow in overall, still high franchise though. And yeah, it's a pretty good year from Connor Bedard and the boys. Let's see what they do in the playoffs. And the year number 6 Chicago Blackhawks fall to oh, they're the worst place losers. I think they fall in 5 to Anaheim, who falls in 6 to Edmonton, who falls in 6 to St. Louis, who fell in, who fell in 4 to St. Louis, and then St. Louis fell in 4 to the Islanders. So the Chicago Blackhawks, man, they are the last place losers, dude. They lost to the team that lost to the team that lost to the team who lost to the team that won the Stanley Cup. So that's pretty rough. Out in 5, I'm not sure what Connor Bedard's stats will be looking like, but let's check. Connor Bedard in 5 games did about all he could. He scored 5 points. He was a -3 with Austin Matthews, though no goals. Maybe you'd like to see that change a little bit, but 5 points in 5 games. Nothing to scoff at there, just the team just wasn't ready to deal with the Anaheim Ducks, but you know, onwards and upwards, go train in the off season and come back stronger for year number 7. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, year number 7 here, starting up. Connor Bedard grew to a 92 overall, so he grew 1 overall there. Zachary Benson is also growing well. He's an 87. Great second liner to be behind Austin Matthews. They have Josh Norris here, but this forward core is looking pretty weak. It's looking weaker than last year's, in my opinion. Lucas Reichel here did not grow the way they wanted him to. Only an 83 overall, and they have the aging Nino Niederreiter, who will probably drop to like 77, 75 by the end of this year. It's rough. On their defensive core, it's not looking much better. Actually, I'd say it's looking maybe a little bit worse. They do have Markku Kavusari here, who is turning out to be a great little player for them. Great two-way defender. Korchinski, though, looks like he's probably dropped off here. He's probably stopped growing there. Only 84 overall. Yikes. Libor Hayek with Seth Jones. I mean, and then 276s, Oliver Bonk and Terrence Randall. It's a rough-looking defensive core, and it's a rough-looking offense. And only an 82, Daniil Tarasov with Olivier Rodrigue as an 81. This team, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, boys. I don't know. Alright, and at the end of year number 7, despite having a worse offensive core and a worse defensive core, the Chicago Blackhawks go 44, 28, and 10, a better record than they had last year, 3.07 goals for and 2.76 goals against. So I mean, I guess they're a good team. I don't really know what's going on. Let's look. And here it is, the dynamic duo Matthews and Bedard doing their thing, this time for the 3rd time in Connor Bedard's career. He breaks 30 goals. He scores 32 goals and 45 assists for 77 points. A great season from Bedard, kind of what he's just been putting up all this time. He's kind of staying stagnant now. I want to see if he can turn that gear, though, and become a legitimate franchise player and hit that, like, 100-point mark. That would be absolutely insane. Guys like McDavid and McKinnon are doing it in this universe, so maybe Bedard is next. But he doesn't have to worry about that right now. He's got to worry about not making the playoffs, doing well in the playoffs, and hopefully getting past that first round and maybe making it back to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, 2 cups in 3 years. That's dynasty territory right there. And for the 2nd time in Connor Bedard's short career so far, his 7th year in the NHL, he has 2 Stanley Cups in 3 years. This man has been on a tear. The Blackhawks, they beat the Predators in 6, they beat the Knights in 6, they beat the Kings in 5, and then they beat the Rangers in 5. They never have to go to 7 games a single time in their run. That's legendary stuff right there. These Chicago Blackhawks, man, I don't know what's going on, but they are dominating this league in the past 3 years. And in the playoffs, Connor Bedard scores 31 points in 22 games with 24 assists to get the most points on the Blackhawks. It's probably a Conn Smythe journey here. This is incredible, incredible stuff. I mean, this man, he was the second point scorer when they won the cup the first time. This time, he stepped it up even more, and he was the primary point getter for these Chicago Blackhawks. So, you love to see it. This team, they've stayed together for a long time. You know, Josh Norris, Zach Benson, Austin Matthews, Connor Bedard, Kevin Korchinski, Lucas Reichel, you know, all these guys, Connor Zary, they've been on this team for a while. The 77 overall Nino Niederreiter, man. I mean, you know, this team, they've been together, they've been growing together, and it's showing, man. This is how you grow a team, and the Chicago Blackhawks, they're two-time Stanley Cup champions. And yes, in his second Stanley Cup of his career, Connor Bedard wins that Conn Smythe Trophy, just solidifying himself as a Chicago Blackhawks legend so early on in his career already, man. He's going to try to keep that up for year number 8. Okay, and at the start of year number 8 here, in my opinion, these Chicago Blackhawks look even better than the Stanley Cup winners of last year. They've got Connor Bedard here, the 92 overall high franchise with Austin Matthews, and they picked up Alex Formenton. Not sure how that's going to play out, but this second line here, man, got so much better. Zachary Benson stayed at an 87, but they picked up an 89 overall, former second overall pick, Quinton Byfield, to play alongside him with Lawson Crouse as well. Then they have Hanu Salo, who they must have drafted this guy. Oh no, Boston drafted him. Okay, just a free agency pickup or something. And that's what the offense looks like. Then on defense here, ooh, dang, I like this team, man. They got Markku Kavusari, I don't know if I'll ever get that right, with Brant Clark here on that the D pairing. Then they have Kevin Korchinski, who, yeah, he's capped off at 84 with Terrence Randall. And then they have Seth Jones at a 78 overall, making only 1.79 mil. He must have ran out of his contract with Vinny Iorio. So not a great defensive pairing, but or a defensive unit here, but these top two, they're looking for these guys to carry them, hopefully, to another cup. That would be insane. Mackenzie Blackwood as their goaltender, not fantastic, with Spike Marco. What a name. Spike Marco. Medium elite, drafted by Chicago in the first round in 2025. Okay, so let's see how these Blackhawks do in year 8. And at the end of year number 8 here, the Chicago Blackhawks go 49-24-9 to put an incredibly respectable record up there, man. Placing second in the entire NHL. Their best placing so far with Connor Bedard on their team. Let's see what the boys did. And Connor Bedard, in 80 games played, he put up 89 points, which is a career high, and 36 goals, which is also a career high, man. Austin Matthews with 94 points. These two, dynamic duo of the future, dude. Just getting it done together. Doesn't matter that their line mate had 55 points only. I mean, these two are just getting it done. And the Chicago Blackhawks, they fall in round number 2 to the eventual Stanley Cup winning St. Louis Blues, man. So, I mean, they can take a little bit of solace in that. They beat the Avs in 6 and then lost to the Cup champs in 7. So, not an awful year for them. I mean, they've won 2 Stanley Cups in 4 years here, so they're just going to look to reload in the offseason. Individually, Connor Bedard led his team with 12 points in 13 games, followed closely by Austin Matthews, as we knew he would be there, for +4. Small sample size, so it's hard to really talk about it very much, but 5 goals, that's quite a few goals for Connor Bedard. Usually he's an assist man to Austin Matthews, but he's stepping it up in that goal department, so that looks good for the future of the Chicago Blackhawks. But we're moving on here to year number 9, I believe. Oh, and just a quick note, it looks like Connor Bedard actually grew to a 93 overall now, still with that high franchise potential. At a 93, I mean, he'll simulate that much better. And at the start of year number 9, the Chicago Blackhawks look quite different here. They've got Connor Bedard in the center for the first time in his career. Actually, no, the second time in his career, with Austin Matthews on his left. And this guy, Cade Weston, who has some X factors. You will see the Chicago Blackhawks drafted him at 10th overall in 2027 here. Zach Benson still on that second line for them, with Formenton, who grew to an 85, and Samuel Bajamo. And then we have Quinton Byfield here on that third line with Lawson Crouse and Mika Poistinen, I'm not sure, and then this fourth line as well. On defense, they reloaded here, although not very well. Brant Clark, excuse me, dropped to an 88. Cavicera, or however we say it, is at an 86 still. Then they have a 78 overall Dmitry Semikin and Jet Wu at an 80, and then Oliver Bonk at 86, and Terrence Randall at 79. 76 for Oliver Bonk, not 86, and 79 there for Terrence Randall as well. So a weak defensive core, but that hasn't plagued them in the past. Ooh, and a weak goaltending core as well, 79 and 77 overall. So I don't know if this is a playoff team. I would not assume this is a playoff team, but the EA simulation, I have no idea how it works, so I guess we'll find out. And in year number 9, these Chicago Blackhawks, they win the President's Trophy with 48 wins, 25 losses, and 9 overtime losses. An incredible season. I believe it's fairly similar to their last season, actually, but, or the season when they came second place. I think that was last season. But incredible year, man. And I'm sure Connor Bedard had a hand in it. And yes, he did. Look at this. 90 points in 82 games for the young man. Only 22 goals, but a career high of 90 points and 68 assists. Connor Bedard with Austin Matthews is an incredible combo, an incredibly deadly combo as well. It doesn't get much better than that. Now the President's Trophy winners are going to try to go win their 3rd cup in 5 years. Okay, and in the Chicago Blackhawks playoff run, they beat out the Jets in 5, but then eventually fall to those St. Louis Blues in 6 games. So a decent playoff run. This team has seen a lot of success recently here. What was it? It was 2 cups in 5 years. I mean, they were close to dynasty territory. They're going to reload for that offseason, but let's look at what Bedard and Matthews and the crew did in these, 11 games. So in 11 games, Connor Bedard here had 14 points, an absolute force to be reckoned with 6 goals and 8 assists, alongside of Matthews, who had 7 goals, 4 assists for 11 points. So Connor Bedard doing his thing, and he actually grew here to a 94 overall now. Look at these individual stats here. I mean, the shooting is up there, the physical is actually up there now. 64 fighting, but 94 strength, 93 durability, 85 body checking. Like at 5'11", those are impressive physical numbers. Skating is also up there, 90 speed and acceleration, and that defense is actually pretty incredible. I'd throw him on that penalty kill. Deking, obviously, we know is up there, offensive awareness and discipline. So he's an all-around player. In fact, I feel like his lowest category is his shooting, even though I know his skating is 4 stars, but and everything else is 5 stars, but like his shooting is, like his slap shot accuracy is only 89, wrist shot accuracy only 92. I mean, you see generated prospects come in with stats like that. So I don't know, 94 overall. He's getting it done though. 90 points this year. It was a lot. So let's see if he can continue that growth there for year number 10. Okay, so Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks have reloaded here for his 10th season in the NHL. Cade Weston grew to an 81 after being, I think, 79. Austin Matthews is dropping off a little bit. He's at exact top 9, so he might not be producing the same alongside of Connor Bedard. So Connor may have to shoulder a little bit more of that weight. But Zachary Benson at an 87 probably is going to stay there. Formanton, 84, dropped a little bit. Noel Gunler, he's 31. I mean, he's an okay winger. Quentin Byfield, an amazing third-line center. And then this fourth line down here. So they have a good offensive core, though, an aging offensive core. Defense, though, still lacking. Kabusari, or however you say it, grew to an 87, so that's good news. Brant Clark, though, remained an 88 overall, and then 77 and 79, respectively, and then 79 and 77 again. So this, I don't know, this defensive core, I don't know if they can get it done, man. And then goaltending, they have Mads Sogard in the net, along with Sogren. So, excuse me if I butchered that name, but this is what the team looks like. Connor Bedard's going to have to carry them big time because they have some good pieces, don't get me wrong. They have an amazing center depth core, but with Austin Matthews aging a little bit and a poor defensive core, I wonder if this team is going to make the playoffs. Okay, so at the end of year number 10 here, the Chicago Blackhawks finish the season with a record of 42, 30, and 10. 94 points, good enough to make it into the playoffs. I'd just like to point out the Metropolitan is stacked. Look at this. Carolina at 11 doesn't make it in. New Jersey at ninth place in the league. They don't make it in with 45 wins. It's absolutely insane in the Metro. You have the Islanders, Columbus, the Rangers, and Pittsburgh all making it from the Metro, which is nuts. That means I think the Penguins would have been a wild card team, dude. That's absolutely crazy. And then you have the Sens sneaking in at 16. And you have these two Western Conference teams. So Chicago got lucky that the Western Conference was a bit weaker this year. But let's check those individual stats and see what Connor Bedard is doing in his 10th year in the NHL. Okay, so year number 10 for Connor Bedard, a bit of a disappointing one, but he only played 75 games, so with 7 more games played, who knows how many points he would have got in those 7 games, but he's around point per game, 73 points in 75 games, just under it, but trying to help those Blackhawks out and make the playoffs, and they did make the playoffs, so we're going to see what he does in those playoffs. Maybe the Blackhawks can sneak away a victory. Austin Matthews here dropped to an 85 overall. Thankfully, Zachary Benson and Connor Bedard are still young guys who can carry this franchise hopefully for a few years to come, as well as Quinton Byfield here. So that deep center core, man, maybe it's enough to get them a Stanley Cup again. So in Connor Bedard's 10th year, the Chicago Blackhawks made the playoffs, but fell to the LA Kings in the second round in 5 games played there. They had a brutal series against the Jets, going to 7 games. Unfortunately, the aging Chicago Blackhawks were not able to win the cup, but maybe they still performed well. And look at this. Once again, Connor Bedard shows up in the playoffs. He's a playoff performer. He goes on when the stage is the brightest, under the brightest lights, on the grandest stage. Connor Bedard gets the job done here. 16 points in 12 games. I mean, you can't ask more from the kid. He's doing his best. He has 7 goals in 12 games. Like, there's nothing really much more you can ask for him, even as 2-game winners, man. So a tough series or a tough year for the Chicago Blackhawks. They're kind of in that tweenersville where they make the playoffs every year, but they're kind of out in the first, second round now, which is nothing to be ashamed about, man. It's a good career. He's played a lot of playoff games. How many playoff games has he played? Let's see. He's played 111 playoff games. It's a lot of playoff games, and he has 123 points in the playoffs. So just showing you how clutch this man is when they need him. He dropped to a 93 overall, but I'm sure that'll just go right back up next season. So nothing to be worried about on Connor Bedard's front, except, yes, this is the last year, or maybe he has one more year of his deal. So will he re-sign with the Blackhawks, the team that has gotten him, or that he's gotten 2 Stanley Cups for these guys? I mean, I'm not sure. I am not sure at all whether he will, but we'll find out at the end of this year. And ladies and gentlemen, after spending 10 years here in Chicago, Connor Bedard is a free agent, and he is a free agent alongside of Connor McDavid, actually. So Bedard and McDavid go into free agency together. Connor Bedard is the most looked after guy. 3 teams are interested in him, and he's looking for about $15 million. So that's absolutely insane for 6 years as well. So we'll see if he gets it. We'll see what happens with Connor Bedard. I'll be back with you guys at the start of year 11. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at the start of Connor Bedard's 11th season, he has moved on from the Chicago Blackhawks. He's, done his dues there. He got them 2 Stanley Cups, and now he's moved over to LA, California. He's playing with the Anaheim Ducks here, and he's alongside Trevor Zegras and Mason McTavish. These guys Mason McTavish and Connor Bedard especially, should have chemistry from that World Junior run they went on. So, reunited with some old friends, maybe making a new friend in Trevor Zegras. And this Anaheim team looks pretty decent. They have quite a few X-Factor abilities, but the bottom 6 looks a little bit bad. Oh, and also, Connor Bedard, he signed for $15.01 million. He might be the most paid. He might have the highest salary in the entire NHL. I'm not sure. On defense, though, they got a defensive core. At least they have Jamie Drysdale along with Pavel Menchikov. They also have Owen Pickering here at a 78 and Axel Anderson, and then they have Sean Dursey and Lucas Cormier. So Decent defensive core, and who's in the net? Lucas Dostal at an 85 overall. So this team, I think this is definitely a playoff-bound team with Connor Bedard, Trevor Zegras, and Mason McTavish on your first line. I don't really see how you could go wrong, so let's simulate and find out. Okay, and look at this. Anaheim here in their first year with Connor Bedard, Connor Bedard's 11th year, they go 51, 22, and 9. But above them, Connor Bedard's old team, the Chicago Blackhawks, go 57, 21, and 4. So this could be a playoff matchup, maybe in the Western Conference Finals. This could be a matchup, dude, and that would be electric, man. So let's check out what Connor Bedard did on his new team. And with his new team, for the first time in his career, Connor Bedard eclipses the 100-point mark, and he scores 108 points. He also scores 41 goals, two less than Trevor Zegras, and he has 67 assists as a plus 50. This line just tore it up. 82 points for McTavish, 106 for Zegras, and 108 here for Connor Bedard, and they're all plus 46 or higher, man. So an absolutely stellar line. It looks like these guys basically carried their entire team, which I do not doubt, and I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, Connor Bedard just went off, and we know he's a playoff performer, so let's see what he does in those playoffs, man. And also a quick note, in the entire league, Connor Bedard scored the most points in the whole league, so he might be in for the Ted Lindsay, is it? The MVP of the league, whichever one it is, Ted Lindsay or the I can't remember the name of it right now, but he might have the Ted Lindsay for sure. So we'll see if he wins that award later on in the season. But I wonder if these guys, if these Ducks, I think they might be able to do it. Maybe they can win the cup. Maybe they can't. I don't know. We're going to find out here pretty soon. And in Connor Bedard's first year here with Anaheim, they make it this close to getting that Stanley Cup. They beat the Canucks in 5. They beat Vegas in 4. They beat the Dallas Stars in 7. And then they fall just short, losing to the Rangers in 7 games. What a thrilling cup that would be, man. Crazy to see Connor Bedard on his new team for his first year, getting that close to winning, but ultimately faltering at the finish line, dude. That would be insane. And in 20 games here, Connor Bedard scored 18 points. Very, very respectable. Looks like he missed out on a few games. Hopefully they weren't in the Stanley Cup final, man. But if they were, that might be the reason why they lost. I don't know. A 93 overall simulator on your team. Oh, he's up to 94 now, which makes sense after his first 100-point season. At 28 years old, he's only getting better, and he's going to stay on this team for another, 7 years, 6 years, man. So the Anaheim Ducks here are looking like an incredible team in their prime, and let's see if they can continue that next year. Okay, the year 12 for Connor Bedard. These Anaheim Ducks here looking as ferocious as last year, though they don't have Troy Terry. He retired. They do have Chinikov with Bedard and Zegras, so that first line staying together. I mean, it was Mason and McTavish on it last year, but they're spreading out the wealth a little, letting Mason McTavish have that second line with this young guy, Jacob Campagna, and Rod Lopez here, and then the bottom 6 as well, looking fairly similar to how it was last year. On defense, is it still similar? Yeah, it's still pretty similar here. Minchikov with Bedard, also Sean Dursey with Vinny Iorio, and Philip Roenick with Melvin Holmes. So a decent defensive core, not amazing. And then in goal, Lucas Dostal dropped to an 81 overall. He was an 85 last year, so I wonder how that's going to play out. They still look like a playoff team. Not really. I don't know if they'll make the Stanley Cup Finals again, but playoffs, I would assume. And the Anaheim Ducks in Connor Bedard's 12th year, they win the President's Trophy, going 58, 22, and 2. They almost reached that 60 goal or 60 win mark there, but unfortunately they fall 2 games short, but they pretty much dominated the NHL this year, it looks like, so good for them. Okay, so in Connor Bedard's 12th year here with Anaheim, he got injured, but he still had 83 points in 69 games played. Incredible numbers. He probably would have reached 100 points. I haven't done the math on it, but I'd assume he would be up here with Trevor Zegras, at least contending with him. So that's an incredible season from him once again. He hits 30 points for, what is it, like the 5th time in his career or something? Maybe 6th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the 5th time in his career he hits 30 goals. 50 assists, that's just common for him. He just does that on the daily. And then 83 points. He's above point per game once again. So Connor Bedard fleshing out a really, really nice career for himself. Okay, in Connor Bedard's 12th year, he faced off against his former team, man, the team that drafted him, and they beat them in 6 games. Anaheim was going on a roll there, and then they unfortunately fell to Vegas in 5 games. But that first series was probably a big one there for Connor Bedard, personally, to just say, hey, guys, you made the wrong decision not trying to sign me. Or maybe, just as an appreciation thing that, hey, we split off, but, I still appreciate everything you guys did for me. So a good series there, but let's look at those individual stats. Okay, and so for the first time really in his playoff career, Connor Bedard does not perform to the standard that we are used to seeing, man. He only has 5 points in 11 games. You'd like to see a little bit more out of him, but it's only 1 year in the playoffs. He's still an amazing playoff performer, and he still does everything he can to help his team win. And speaking of that, I have to show you guys the awards because I forgot to last year, and I'm kicking myself right now because of it, but I do want to show you guys and be honest with you. So if we look at the individual awards here, and you look at 20-33-34, the one right under the current year, Connor Bedard won the Art Ross. He led the league in points. He also won the Hart Memorial here. He was the MVP of the league, or to his team at least. Then also down a little bit further, where is it? Yes, the Ted Lindsay Award, the most outstanding player as selected by the NHLPA. So, an amazing year for Connor Bedard last year. I wish I highlighted it in the moment. I just forgot about it. I don't know why. Man, I was even talking about it while I was doing his stats and stuff. So, I don't know, but we're on to year number 13. Okay, and year number 13 of Connor Bedard's career, he has reached the ripe age of 30, right in the middle of his prime. We only have a couple of years left with him, probably. He might retire at 38, 39, 40. I don't know. Maybe he'll retire at 45. Who knows? But he is still on the line with Trevor Zegras and Chinnakov. But on that second line, we no longer have Mason McTavish, so the depth falls off drastically here. And then we have 79s and 77s on our third and fourth line. So not looking like a very good depth team, though. This second line center is serviceable, as you all know that. I don't have to tell you that. And then Mintyukov, excuse me, and Drysdale on that first line with some 79 overall defensemen as well. So not a great defensive core. And in goal, we have a 81 overall Grigorenko and an 83 overall Spike Marco. So a decent team. I can see them making the playoffs just because of Trevor Zegras and Connor Bedard, but I guess we'll find out. And the Anaheim Ducks take a bit of a step back with this team, but they still finish 5th place, so it just goes to show you that you have 2 superstars on your team. You are absolutely fine. You don't need goaltending. You don't need defensemen. They do have 2 89 overall defensemen, so I guess that's pretty good. But they finished the season 43, 23, and 16, so 16 overtime losses. Lucky that they weren't more regulation losses, but I think you'll take that if you're an Anaheim fan. Connor Bedard scores 84 points in 82 games, which is still great, don't get me wrong, but maybe his age starting to show just a wee little bit, because only 84 points in 82 games, still a great year, above point per game, but not that 100-point pace we were used to the past 2 seasons. All right, and in the playoffs, the Anaheim Ducks beat out the Edmonton Oilers there in 5 games, but then get swept by the Seattle Kraken, who eventually go on to lose the Stanley Cup Finals. So a successful year for a team that I wasn't even sure was good, if they were going to make the playoffs. But Connor Bedard getting up there in age, I assume he's going to be pressuring management to maybe get one more, man. That's his goal right now. Just get me one more, So we'll see if he can do it in his next year. Here we are, Connor Bedard's 14th year, and the show is about to start right now, and he's still with Trevor Zegras, but Trevor Zegras is dropping off. He's an 87 overall now. He was a 90 last year, so Connor Bedard might not be getting the same production from his line mates. Also, Chinnakov is also dropping off at 35 years old. Connor Bedard at 31, trying to hold these guys together. He's trying to be the glue to hold the Anaheim Ducks together, man. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but they have this guy, Berkeley Catton, who they draft, or who somebody drafted. Buffalo drafted 6th overall there, so good pickup in free agency, a little bit of a depth pickup, I guess. Poistonen and Mysak, so I mean, again, the depth is not really there, but the stars are, with Trevor Zegras dropping off a little bit, though. Maybe the Anaheim Ducks, they will drop off as well. On defense, still looking the exact same here. Menchikov and Drysdale, and then 78s and 76s everywhere, bro. I mean, this team is just stacked up front. And then Grigorenko, luckily, grew to an 86 overall over the offseason. So they have a goalie and they have a first-line center, and that's about it. But maybe it's enough to get them into the playoffs. And for the first time since I believe the 26-27 season, Connor Bedard is not going to be in the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, Anaheim could not make it. They finished 39, 37, and 6, which was not enough to get them in the playoff spot. They have basically a top 10 pick, maybe it's 11th, I'm not exactly sure, but a disappointing season for Bedard and the boys. Speaking of Connor Bedard, he was able to score 80 points in 77 games, which was actually second on his team, so I'm not sure what happened. I guess Trevor Zegras kind of took over, man, so... But Connor Bedard's still with that 93 overall. Trevor Zegras fell to an 84, so I'm not even sure if they'll be on the same line next year, but these Anaheim Ducks, they got to figure something out for next year because Connor Bedard, with only 3 years left on his deal, he wants to win a cup, and when he's 34 years old, he might not be re-signing here if they miss the playoffs for another couple of years in a row. And here we are, year 15 of Connor Bedard's career. He's 32 years old, and he's alongside the 36-year-old Trevor Zegras and the 29-year-old Casey Sutton, who was it, Boston drafted? Or no, this is not the same guy as last time. So, okay, so they make some changes, but all very lateral changes, it looks like. I mean, they still have a weak fourth line. Oh my god, that fourth line's awful. And a weak bottom six as well. Defensively, yeah, their defense looks horrible. They have a 63 and a 58 on their defensive pairings. You've got to be kidding me, dude. There's no way they make it into the playoffs. And goaltending, 84 overall, Grigorenko. I mean, there's absolutely no way this team makes it into the playoffs. I love, Bedard in his career so far. He has 1,126 points in 1,108 games played. He's above point per game in his career, but man, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get another cup. I don't know if he's going to do it on Anaheim. It doesn't look like it, definitely. So I guess we'll find out, man. I don't think this team's making the playoffs, but I'll be back with you at the end of the year. And in Connor Bedard's 15th season, he's on a team, Anaheim, who goes 31, 45, and 6. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just not what you want to see. But when you have a 60 overall defenseman on your bottom pairing, I don't think your odds are very good at making the playoffs. And Anaheim shows it, man. You need defense, and you need a stronger forward core, man. So they got to go out and do something, because with all their cap locked up in Connor Bedard for the next couple of years, you either got to trade him and get some picks and put Connor Bedard in a better place to win, or do something else, man. You got to get some assets somehow, because Connor Bedard is he's not going to re-sign if you keep missing the playoffs the next couple of years in a row. Speaking of Connor Bedard, despite being on one of the worst teams in the NHL this year, he still goes above point per game. He gets 85 points in 82 games, 25 goals and 60 assists for 85 points. Minus 22, but everybody's minus on this team, so, a decent year for him. He maintains his 93 overall, and, yeah, he's almost at 1,200 games. He's 32 years old. He's only got a couple of years more left in him. He's going to want to be on a better team, so hopefully Anaheim can provide that for him. And here we are for Connor Bedard's 16th year in the NHL and his last year probably with Anaheim. His contract is up after this year, so he might be out of this horrible franchise so far. I mean, they made the Stanley Cup Finals in his first year here, but then they haven't done anything since, and it doesn't look like they're going to be doing anything with this lineup. He's still got Casey Sutton on his wing, but they drafted this guy, I think. Yes, they just drafted him this year. Third overall. He's a two-way forward, so, if Bedard wants to stay and play with Tarnstrom for the rest of his career, maybe he can do that. I don't know, but the rest of this team is not looking great. Trevor Zegras down here on that fourth line. He'll probably retire after this year at 37 years old. He's making $13 million, so crazy stuff in Anaheim, man. On defense, yeah, I mean, it's better than last year. Let's not get it twisted. It's better than last year. Chad McInnes with some X factors down here. But don't pretend like this is a great defensive core, any of you, please. And then goaltending, 85 overall, Grigorenko. So again, I think they'll probably miss the playoffs here. Connor Bedard will not be happy. I think he's going to go somewhere else in free agency, but who knows? Maybe he likes it here in Anaheim. Maybe he likes I don't know, the taxes or whatnot. I have no idea what's going on with Connor Bedard, dude. Maybe he likes it here, maybe he doesn't, so we'll find out at the end of this year. Somehow, some way, the Anaheim Ducks went 49, 26, and 7, and they finished 4th place in the entire NHL, despite what looked to be a failure of a team they put on the ice. I mean, maybe I was looking at it too early and we were still in those preseason lines. I don't know, maybe they made some crazy deals at the trade deadline. I have no idea what went on, but this is some crazy stuff. I have to look at their stats, man. And no, from the looks of things, it's just Trevor Zegras and Connor Bedard. Trevor Zegras and Connor Bedard show, man. These guys just went off, it looks like. Connor Bedard for 75 points in 82 games. I mean, it's nothing insane. He's done better. I don't even know if he's ever done worse. Probably his rookie season he did worse. He's done better before. He wasn't point per game, but it's enough to get his team into the playoffs. But yeah, even just looking at the overalls of these guys, I mean, there's nothing like crazy here. There's nothing crazy whatsoever, man. So 78, 80, 79, 75 overall. Jamie Drysdale, bro, at $11 million for another year. Like, there's nothing crazy on this team whatsoever, and yet they make the playoffs, and they make the playoffs being the 5th overall team. Was it their goaltender? I mean, yeah, he had a good year, but not insane. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. And in Connor Bedard's return to the playoffs here, Anaheim is gonna fall in the second round to the eventual Stanley Cup winner. So nothing to be ashamed of there. They don't get the cup for Bedard in his last season, but they make the playoffs, and maybe that's enough to convince him to stay. I'm not too sure. And looking at those player stats, man, Connor Bedard, he tried his best. He was giving his all out there, but not much support. He had 11 points in 13 games. Just a lot of depth scoring from this team, but they don't have that guy who could get them over the hump. I mean, Connor Bedard is that guy, but he has no help really. So, and he's dropping off to a 92 overall as well. So, they don't win the cup this year, but they make the playoffs, which is a step up. But is it enough to convince Connor to stay for the rest of his career? Probably. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, year 17 for Connor Bedard, I believe, and he is here with the Anaheim Ducks still. He, over the offseason, he deliberated and he signed a 4-year, $16.260 million deal. This man is rich. He's alongside of Casey Sutton again and Lincoln Almond. Also, his line mate last year is now an 88 overall, and he's going to be centering that second line. So they have a decent team, but once again, they have no depth. Although last year, they still made everything. I mean, EA, if this team makes the playoffs, I'm done, dude. There's no way a 78, 75, 73, 69, 70, 69 defensive core can get you into the playoffs. I'm looking at their scratch players. What do they have? I mean, they just have forwards, man. That's all they have. And then in the net, Grigorenko. There's no way this team makes the playoffs. I get they have Connor Bedard and Tarnstrom. That's not enough to make the playoffs, let alone with a defensive core with 269s on it. There's no way this team makes the playoffs. If they do, I'm calling BS, man. That would be insane. But hey, it's EA, so I guess we'll find out. All right, and at the end of this year, man, Connor Bedard, he does not make the postseason now for only like the 5th time in his career or something like that. Unfortunately, the Ducks, they were just not able to get it done, which makes sense. If they had, I would have been absolutely mind blown, bro. They go 36, 38, and 8 on the season, and I wonder what Connor Bedard did with this lackluster team in front of him. And despite the poor team in front of Connor Bedard here, he scores 85 points in 82 games. So again, still reaching that above point per game mark, man. That's pretty impressive. He only has 25 goals. He wasn't as much of a goal scorer in his career as I thought he would be. And oh, look at that. He dropped to an exact elite, man. So he's going to be dropping off here in the next few years. And he still has 3 more years at $16.260 million. So that's pretty crazy, man. He's getting to the tail end of his career. Let's see. I'm praying he can win one more, but let's see if he can. All right, boys, here we go. The start of year number 18, I think. We're getting into the nitty-gritty now. Connor Bedard is a 92 overall here with Lincoln Almond and Lasse Hamalainen, who they picked up, must have been in free agency. They also have Tarnstrom still on the team with 270 overalls, and then the bottom six looking pretty weak here with a 73 as well. So the forward core, it has some strong upsides, but the downsides might be too much to overcome. I'm not quite too sure. On defense, again, just awful defending here in Anaheim. And goalies, we still have Grigorenko in the net at exact starter. Bad news for Connor Bedard, though. He's dropped to a 92, and also he has the exact top six, so he's going to be dropping off quite rapidly from here on out. But maybe he can make one last run at it. He's making a $16.260 million for another 3 years, so maybe Anaheim can make a run. And at the end of year number 18 here, the Anaheim Ducks just squeak into the playoffs and ranked 17th in the entire NHL. They go 43, 34, and 5 as their record with 91 points on the year, and maybe Bedard was part of that good luck there. And here he is. Bedard has his worst season in quite some time, but with 48 assists, 17 points for 48 assists, 17 goals for 65 points. He's a minus 12 on the year, but the Anaheim Ducks made the playoffs, and Connor Bedard in the playoffs has notoriously been pretty good. He did unfortunately drop to 90 overall, so he dropped 2 overall in that year, and he'll probably drop over the summer as well, but the era of Connor Bedard is not quite over yet. The Ducks have a chance. They've made the playoffs, even if they were the second wild card place. They still have a chance, so let's look at that playoff tree. And the Ducks were so close to getting another Stanley Cup there for Connor Bedard, but unfortunately they fall short in the Western Conference Finals. In the first round, they beat out San Jose in 7. The second round, they beat out Seattle in 7, but they just didn't have enough left in the tank after those 2 grueling games, 7 rounds back to back. Man, they get beat out by the Oilers in 5, who lose in the Stanley Cup Finals. But a good run for Connor Bedard. I don't think he'd be too happy with that. He wants to win a cup, but I'm sure he had a hand in the playoffs. Let's go check it out. And yes, he did. At 35 years of age, he's now 87 overall, but he's still producing in the playoffs, man. 21 points in 19 games with 6 goals, 15 assists. The 35-year-old, he's trying to do it all for his team, but sadly, it just wasn't quite enough to get it done. But maybe they'll come back next year and they'll be stronger. Who knows? Let's get to the year number 19 of Connor Bedard's career. Okay, and here we are, and Connor Bedard, in his 19th year in the NHL, at 36 years of age, he fell off a cliff in the offseason, man. He was at 87 overall there at the end of the playoffs. He was at 92 to start that year, and now he's 85 overall. So, pretty rough stuff here for Connor. Yeah, his skating has dropped to an 83, 84. He still has those puck skills and that offensive awareness and the defense, to be fair. But the physical, the shooting, the skating is all dropping off. And he's on a line with the young Tarnstrom, who he mentored in his rookie year, and Lincoln Almond. And then this forward core does not look great after that. They have a good first line, but everything else not looking great at all. On defense, they finally got some defense here in Anaheim. Okay, I'm liking that. I'm liking the looks of this defensive core here. I still don't like that there's a 76 overall there, but a way better defensive core than last year. And in net, Grigorenko still manning the goal here. He's been in Anaheim for, his whole career? Yeah, his whole career has been in Anaheim, so that's good to see from the club, and let's hope this team can make the playoffs, because this might be Connor Bedard's his last year in the NHL. I don't know, but we're gonna find out. And in Connor Bedard's 19th year in the NHL, the Anaheim Ducks miss out on the playoffs, having a record of 37 wins, 35 losses, and 10 overtime losses. In 78 games, despite Connor Bedard dropping to an 83 overall, he had 72 points in 78 games. I mean, you can't really ask for much more than that from the 36-year-old. He's trying his best out there. He was a -8, but a sad day in Anaheim, as this could be Connor Bedard's last season. Anaheim and Chicago, he's making the tours there maybe, but he might come back for one more run. Maybe he'll have a Patrick Marleau-like career, I don't know, but we're going to find out here. Here we are in the retired players, and it looks like Connor Bedard is coming back for one more year, maybe two, maybe three. I have no idea. But the kid, he's still got a little bit of fight in him. So that's good to see, man. You like to see that. Here is Connor Bedard's 20th season in the NHL, and he's 37 years old, and he dropped to an 84 overall. The Anaheim Ducks looking like a decent team. They picked up this guy, Erskine in free agency, I believe. He's 34 at 90 overall, so good pickup there. But the rest of the team looking kind of weak. They have a decent first line, a meh second line, a meh third line, and then an 87 overall on their fourth line for some reason, and an 85. I mean, I assume these lines are going to be changing throughout the season, but that makes absolutely no sense. On defense here, it looks okay. Not really, though. They have an 85 and then nothing else, so a little bit lackluster there as well. And then in the goalie department, we still are rocking with Grigorenko, so good for the Anaheim Ducks. They're staying loyal to their guys, but I don't think Connor Bedard's going to get into the playoffs this year, boys. Not going to lie. And somehow, some way, with the roster the Anaheim Ducks put on the ice, they finished 13th in the entire NHL, and that was good enough to get them a playoff spot with 43 wins, 31 losses, and 8 overtime losses. So congratulations to the Anaheim Ducks and Connor Bedard. Let's see what he did for them. And at the ripe old age of 37 years old, Connor Bedard scored 76 points in 82 games with only 16 goals but 60 assists, man, rivaling what he was doing the first year he came to Anaheim here when he scored like 108 points or whatever it was. I mean, this guy, though it says he's a sniper as his player type, he performs like a playmaker, man. He does shoot the puck quite a bit, but dude, he has always been an assist first guy, which is pretty insane to me. I was not expecting that whatsoever when we came into this league, but he's in the playoffs right now, so let's follow along with him for what could be his last playoff run of his career. And in the playoffs here, man, the Anaheim Ducks, they beat out the Coyotes in the first round. They beat out the St. Louis Blues in the second round. But in those Western Conference Finals, man, Dallas sweeps Anaheim, and then they also sweep Tampa. The Dallas Stars only drop one game the entire postseason. So, I mean, they were a dominant force here in these playoffs. So Anaheim just came up against some tough competition in a different year. Who knows what happens? That might be it for Connor Bedard, guys, but let's check his individual stats. And though we are used to Connor Bedard putting up massive numbers in the postseason, he dropped off a little bit here, which makes sense at 37 years old. He had 10 points in 16 games, still not bad at all for a second liner, but not that above point per game pace we are used to, but 1 goal, 9 assists for 10 points in the 2043 playoffs. This could be it, boys. Could be a sad day, but maybe not. Maybe Connor Bedard's going to play till he's 40. I have no idea. No clue, but we'll find out here very shortly. And that is going to do it for Connor Bedard's career right now. Let's get this right here. In 1,593 games played, he was good for 531 goals, which is lower than I was expecting, but them's the breaks. And he had 1,053 assists, which equates 1,584 points in total in his entire career. He was drafted first overall in 2023. This is a pretty stacked draft class as well. He goes out with Juraj Slafkovsky, this created prospect, Ross Kim, another created prospect. Then he spent some time with Brant Clark, who scored 1,000 points as a defenseman. Congratulations to him. Also spent some time with Zachary Benson here. And other than that, I mean, Marco Kasper, that's a real life guy as well. But yeah, man, so an incredible career for Connor Bedard. I'm going to read off some of his awards, trophies, how much money he made, and all that jazz in just 1 second. Looking at the awards in Connor Bedard's career, he won that Calder Trophy in his rookie season, scoring 67 points in his campaign. An incredible rookie season, to say the least. He also won the Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2027, 2028, as well as winning the Cup with them in 2029, 2030. In that same year, he won the Conn Smythe for the Chicago Blackhawks as well, so an absolutely stellar performance from him in those playoffs. as he scored 31 points in 22 games with 7 goals and 24 assists. Also, on his first year in Anaheim, he won the wait for Art Ross, Hart, and Ted Lindsay awards, man, all in 2033 and 2034. In that 2033 year, he had 41 goals and 67 assists, which was good for 108 points, the most he saw throughout his entire career. His entire career earnings, when you add all of the years and the cap hit up, is $127,195,000. So he definitely made himself a decent living here in the NHL, and though he wasn't point per game in his career, which I'm quite surprised by, it was a stellar career. He played for Anaheim and Chicago. Both teams, I would assume, hang up his banner for the performances that he gave them. He gave Chicago 2 cups. He gave Anaheim a Art Ross Hart Memorial and Ted Lindsay Trophy run, all in the same year. So that's pretty legendary stuff. And let's see where his totals rank him all time. Okay, so this list will not be entirely complete because there are still active players in all these categories that may surpass these. And of course, in the simulation, there were guys who scored more than 15,000 points. For example, we saw Connor McDavid hit 2,000, 1,500 points, but we saw Connor McDavid hit 2,000. But this is just if everything were to stay the same how it is exactly right now when I'm recording this. Where would Connor Bedard rank? And I think it's a pretty decent indicator because I can't possibly like keep track of every single person and all the generated prospects, all their totals as well, as I'm just one person. It would be nice if that was a thing you could do in EA's game, but unfortunately it is not something that we can do as of right now. So his 1,584 points puts him 10th place, in between Ray Bourque and Phil Esposito, so he's in very, very good company there. Alright, and with 1,593 games played, that places him 14th place in front of Nicholas Lidstrom and once again behind Ray Bourque. So Connor Bedard and Ray Bourque having a little, some interesting connections here in their overall statistics. And with Connor Bedard's 531 goals in his career, that puts him 36th all-time, right in front of Marian Hossa and behind Frank Mahovlich. So great company there as well. Interestingly, while he was a sniper coming into his draft year, he morphed his game throughout his career playing with snipers like Austin Matthews and Trevor Zegras, and he altered his playing style to be more of an assist man. So scoring 1,053 assists ranks him 10th all-time in assist making. He's just in front of the great Gordie Howe, and he is one behind Steve Yzerman, or excuse me, he's one place behind Steve Yzerman. He's 10 assists behind Steve Yzerman. With a career plus minus of 100 and plus 110, that ranks him tied with Justin Williams and Bobby Nystrom, who were both at 110 as well. Though he was known for getting assists in his career, Connor Bedard actually strangely ranks 14th in the NHL all-time in his shot category. He is 1 shot ahead of Bobby Hull, and he is right behind Steve Yzerman as well. So that's pretty interesting. Though he only had 531 goals, I say only, it's still amazing. He did shoot the puck way more than a lot of other scorers. And so thus concludes our journey here going over Connor Bedard's career simulation. This did take me quite a while, so if you guys liked it, please do give the video a like and comment on it if you would like, if you so choose. If you want to see more of these, if you want to suggest another simulation for me to do, I'm very, very willing to do that and happy to do that as well. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everybody.